January 11th, 2011. This is part 2 of my first job in France. I was lied to and told I had no right to work until after a year of marriage. I started looking for a job right away anyhow. I barely spoke French. I couldn't even find a dishwashing or babysitting job. Eventually, I found a possible spot in an American-style restaurant. They had to write me a formal letter saying they wanted to hire me. I took that letter to the authorities and applied for a work permit, then waited. Only by marriage to a French citizen did I have a slim chance. I had to pay about $200 for a physical exam. I'm sure it's a lot more now. If I had been sick or HIV positive, I would have been deported. I had to wait a year and pay several $100s more to get a French green card, or its equivalent, which is only good for a year anyway. I just have to pray they convert it to a 10-year status soon. They did, but after 5 years here, I just couldn't take it anymore. I applied for French citizenship, but I thought about it for 5 years. See, I live in Seine-Saint-Denis, which is a big, county, département, which is right next to Paris. It's part of the Greater Paris region, and it is the most populous département in the entire Ile-de-France region. So getting anything done here administratively is terrible. It's just, this is the worst place to get it done. I think it's probably much easier in Paris or some of the other surrounding départements or elsewhere in France, but I'm not sure. But that's what I've heard. Then I can work without prior permission, I hope. I got a work permit, but only to work in that one restaurant. I prayed the job was still open. It wasn't, but they needed a DJ and were willing to take the chance that the work permit, which allowed me to be a barman, a bartender, they call it barman here, would also allow me to play records and videos for the customers while they were paying too much for American-style food and cocktails. The employer explained nothing to me about compensation. I was shown a contract in French and reluctantly signed it. It gave them the right to fire me on the spot for the first 30 days of my employment. If they wished to renew this 30-day trial period one time, they had to notify me in advance by registered mail. They didn't bother. They forced me to sign another contract in the second month there. It gave them the right to fire me at will, which they did in my 5th week of work. It took me a long time to get paid and to be reimbursed 50% for my bus and subway pass. Most of the restaurant workers were students. Students can pay about $200 and work up to 3 months at a time here if they meet certain conditions. Employers love the steady flow of slaves willing to take minimum wage. No one fights abuse since they won't be staying long. When your 3 months are up, you have to wait a long time, possibly a year, before you can get a work permit again. So I don't recommend coming here as a student because you really can barely work. The limitations are really, really, really tough. I worked 6 nights a week. I could eat a depressing meal with my coworkers if I dared. The food was very bad and always made me sick, and I have a strong stomach. Management told us the food was free, but we were charged for it. When I wrote to the management by registered mail with a list of questions about my pay stub, things started to go very bad for me at the job. In France, you are paid only once a month, and never in the month you've worked. And never by check anymore. It's always by wire transfer. You have to have a bank account here, which are hard to get. It's bewildering. You lose about 22% of your pay to taxes, and everything you buy has a 25% value-added tax as part of the price. That's not really true, but it's the general idea. That's why a grocery store chicken can cost you $10, a pack of cigarettes $4. This was years ago. It's more now. The average French worker is lucky to pull in $10,000 a year. Rents are high, at least $1,000 a month. and you must sign a 3-year lease that you can't get out of. Families live cramped together, locked in a cycle of poverty. Most people never own their home or apartment here, despite the very sluggish, seller-motivated real estate market, which was true at the time. Most French people move only once in their lives and change jobs only a couple of times. American mobility is so bewildering to them, they often do not believe me when I describe my lifestyle in the U.S. They are astonished. I left home in the Midwest at 18, financed my own education, moved to New York alone, and have had 3 husbands and at least 30 jobs. Most French are born and raised in one place. It is nearly impossible for them to qualify for college, and 50% of all first-year students fail anyway. Student workers can get training spots for 3 to 6 months at a time, and it is forbidden for them to earn more than $300 a month in these jobs. You meet a lot of 20-year-old married students who still depend on their families. Students here often foolishly believe they'll get a good job with their education, when in fact they'll just enter the ranks of workers glad to have beaten out the other 1,000 clawing for the spot, and they'll probably earn less than $1,000 a month for a very, very long work week. Okay, I'm going to stop this and do part 3.